This is Dr. Casey. I'm here with Dr. Morgan. We're the founders of Family Health Advocacy. Last week we did a video on Alzheimer's disease and type 3 diabetes, or diabetes of the brain. And after doing that video, we immediately were asked a question by one of our community members if there is a connection between diabetes and fibromyalgia. Now, fibromyalgia is a chronic condition that's affecting millions of people worldwide. It's best known for symptoms of widespread pain in the muscles and joints. It's also causing chronic fatigue and areas of tenderness. Now, the difficulty with this condition is that the symptoms of fibromyalgia actually mimic the symptoms of a number of other conditions, one of those major ones being diabetes, which we're going to talk about in just a minute.
Fibromyalgia can have more than one cause, and we know that it can be triggered by physical, chemical, and emotional stress, all of which affect the nervous system. And there's a lot of people who are struggling with fibromyalgia, and it's something that should be really taken seriously because it's changing and affecting people's lives. But there's recent research out of Rheumatology International journal, and they looked at 3.5 million people, and they found that fibromyalgia was common amongst people who had certain diseases, namely type 2 diabetes. And type 2 diabetes is a chronic disease that basically affects your sugar or glucose levels in your blood because your body doesn't have the ability to use its insulin to regulate it or decrease it. Now, in the research, they found that 18% of people with type 2 diabetes had fibromyalgia. There's also research that came out of Israel that shows that people with type 1 diabetes also are more likely to suffer from fibromyalgia.
Right, and there is a compelling link between diabetes and fibromyalgia, because when your blood sugar levels are under control, you're less likely to go on and develop fibromyalgia. But if your blood sugar levels become elevated, obviously you're more likely, especially for diabetic patients with elevated blood sugar levels, they're more likely to go on and develop fibromyalgia. But not only that, that elevated blood sugar level is going to increase the severity of the symptoms of fibromyalgia, like headaches, tender points, widespread pain throughout the body, and fatigue. So these two conditions, the symptoms mimic each other. That's why it's so difficult to properly diagnose someone with fibromyalgia, and that really it is a diagnosis that's based on the symptoms.
Absolutely. Well, this is really important to note. Fibromyalgia occurs 4 times more common in those with type 2 diabetes than those in the general population. But there is good news that these two conditions have been connected, because we're going to give you 3 steps that you can start to take immediately that are going to help alleviate some of the symptoms of both of these conditions.
Absolutely. So step number 1 is get moving. So become more active and engage in more physical activity. And I know for those of you watching right now, you might be thinking, oh man, I'm in so much pain. I'm dealing with so much fatigue. You can't ask me to do that. And I know what, I've been there. I've dealt with my own chronic pain condition where I've been bedridden for weeks. I could barely walk, and for someone to tell me I got to get more active, that would have been difficult to hear. But countless studies are showing that being more physically active is going to actually provide you with symptom relief. It even works better than medication. So here's my suggestion to you. Start small, start slow. Doing something is better than nothing. So if that means it's just a short walk, fine. If it's doing something gentle like Tai Chi or yoga for beginners, then so be it. For me, I was so bad, I literally had to start with the most basic rehab exercises you can imagine. But it's something that helps, and it's going to help you relieve those pain symptoms.
Step 2 is make better food choices. So even tweaking the smallest nutritional changes, you'll start to see that it's decreasing your pain, and you might find that you have more energy. So you want to focus on eating foods that are high in vitamin C and magnesium and omega-3 essential fatty acids. These have proven to be quite helpful for a lot of people suffering with fibromyalgia and chronic pain. Now, we did a video on food triggers, and I urge you to go back. If you have not watched that video already, watch it, and we're going to talk about how gluten, dairy, MSG, and aspartame can actually significantly increase your symptoms. So it's not just important to know what you should be eating, but also what you should be staying away from as well.
Right, and the third step is to learn to better handle your stress. I mean, it's so common that everyone's got bombarded with responsibilities and demands that we need to meet on a daily basis. It can be quite stressful, and in many cases it'll all culminate into a major flare-up of your symptoms. So we need to learn to better handle the stress. So things like physical activity, proper nutrition, those are good action steps, but we also need to take a time out. Just break away from everything and allow our brains to simply declutter. Research has shown that meditation, mindfulness, these are great ways to help relieve your pain symptoms.
So the most important thing here is stay in a positive mindset and don't give up, because what works for one person is not going to work for everybody else. So the goal here is to figure out what works for you.
Right, so if you found this video interesting and helpful, please like it. If you have any questions or comments, comment below. Also, if you know someone out there that would benefit from watching this video, please share this video with other people.
And if you'd like to learn more about how to overcome fibromyalgia and your chronic pain, follow the link in the description, and that's going to drive you towards our e-training.
You're one step closer.